Hola a todos, pues estamos con Elizabeth Mattis Namgyel, una gran maestra en meditación, en budismo. Elizabeth ha estudiado y practicado el Buda Dharma durante 35 años bajo la guía de su maestro y esposo Sigal Kongtrul Rinpoche. Ella es la maestra de retiro de Samten en Creston, Colorado, y ha pasado más de 6 años en retiro. Tiene una licenciatura en antropología y una maestría en estudios budistas. Es autora del Poder de una pregunta abierta, El camino del Buda hacia la libertad y la lógica de la fe. Elizabeth es conocida por su uso de la investigación como un medio para llegar a un lugar de práctica genuina y despertar, revitalizando la práctica de meditación. Elizabeth, thank you so much for being here with us. It's such an honor.
Oh, it's my pleasure, very much my pleasure. And hello to everyone. I want to begin by saying thank you so much, Regina, for putting together this conference that has to do with health and well-being. If we're healthy and we know how to move about our world in a positive and loving way, then of course it makes the world better. And we need this so much right now. So I want to say to you, thank you very much for that. And thank you for having me also.
Oh, it's amazing. I admire you very much, and you have such a deep way of explaining very profound things in an approachable way for us Western people. So we're very looking forward to learn from you.
Thank you so much for having me. I look forward to doing this with all of you. So
great. So I'm going to leave you here. It's all for you to speak, and anything you need, I'll be here watching.
Okay, thank you so much. So hello, everybody. So nice to be here with you. And I believe the title of this talk or this session together is called Enjoying the Mind in Meditation with Curiosity and Openness. And the reason I thought to use the terms curiosity and openness is that, you know, right now we're living in the midst of a lot of uncertainty. And I think we're experiencing that in a very collective way and also an individual way. We have our own issues around uncertainty. We have our own concerns about our livelihood and our family and so forth, our health perhaps, the economy, and then we have our collective concerns that we all share. So it's very visible right now for us, this idea of uncertainty, although we always live in a world that's uncertain in many ways. We live in a world where we're surprised, or all of a sudden someone will die and we have loss. You know, we never know when we're going to die or what's going to happen. So, you know, one of the ways to respond to uncertainty is with curiosity and openness. Sometimes we respond to uncertainty with anxiety or depression. And that happens sometimes, and that's okay if that arises too. We shouldn't judge our experience, but we want to be curious about our experience. So curiosity, in a certain way, can protect us, keep us in healthy relationship to uncertainty. Because as human beings, uncertainty is always going to be a part of our lives. So how do we work with it? And how do we work with the situation we're in now too, with COVID-19 and the economy and not knowing what's going to happen? And I just wanted to share with you for a moment. My son he's also a teacher. He's a young teacher, 31 years old. And he was talking to a group of young people, young adults, and they were asking him how to work with the future. And he said that throughout history, there's always been uncertainty, and people have gone through some very difficult times in history. And in many ways, well, first of all, they've survived it, they've gotten through it, but also it's made them more resilient, more courageous, more compassionate, and also often more self-reflective. So maybe there's some opportunities. This is a question you might just ask. Are there opportunities here for me? Are there ways in which I could utilize this to grow and to benefit others and to benefit myself? And it's interesting because in the midst of uncertainty, often we feel we don't have much agency. When I say agency, I mean we feel that we don't have much power or power of choice. And that's true in a way, that we're not in total command. We can't make the virus go away, or we can't prevent people from getting sick. We can't control the economy. However, in certain ways, we have a tremendous amount of agency, tremendous amount of ability to influence how our life goes. Because when we look around us, we're in relationship to others, and we're in relationship to our own mind. So how we work with our mind and how we work with the people around us, we have a lot of control if we really kind of stop and pay attention and think, how is it I want to relate to the world I'm in? How can I find a way to be more peaceful or kind, or work with my fear? So these are the things we actually do have agency. And so when we're talking about working with fear, anxiety, or what have you, then meditation is very, very important. It's like the healthy part we think of, our bodies and keeping our bodies healthy, but we don't often think about, well, how do we work with our mind? How do we keep our minds healthy? And so that's what meditation is for. So today, what I wanted to do is I thought, I just talked a little bit, and then I want to guide a meditation, and then maybe I'll talk a little bit more, and then I'll guide a little bit more of a meditation for you. Because I think that meditation is extremely important, because you develop a lot of confidence in how to learn something from your own experience. So if I just tell you, it's not going to make that much difference. But if you actually sit and you find a way to calm the mind or access your own clarity, your own strength, your own resilience, your own courage, then it will be very powerful for you. So that's why meditation it teaches you how to have your own experience, and it makes your life, it brings a lot of strength and confidence to your life, even when things are difficult. So it's not a way to make things not difficult on the outside, although if your mind is calm and you can relate to your world in a very peaceful and clear way, then of course you can influence outer circumstances too. So the first meditation I thought to do with you is very basic, but it's very, very powerful. And it's a meditation that you find not just in the Buddhist tradition, but in many, many wisdom traditions. Perhaps the tradition you're a part of traditionally has this kind of meditation in it as well. And this is a meditation that has to do with grounding your mind, calming and focusing your mind through watching your breath. So why is this so important to calm and focus your mind? So when we begin to meditate, you might find this out if you haven't meditated before, that sometimes, we want to be peaceful and we want to be relaxed, but our mind is kind of wild, and it's scattered, and it's sometimes disturbed, or it can be also very dull or lazy, not very bright. So this meditation is also good for the brightness in your mind. And in the Tibetan tradition, they say that an untrained mind is like a limbless rider, a limbless person, man or woman, and who's blind, sitting on a wild horse. So in other words, you have no control, and you're not grounded. It's a completely out of control situation, which is very scary and uncomfortable. So sometimes when we sit in meditation and the mind is, actually the activities that arise in our mind, they're not really, we don't have to even think of them as bad or good, but it can just get very wild. We don't need to judge them, but often we feel like a feather in the wind. So we need to get grounded, and we need to strengthen ourselves. So I like this example of a person on a wild horse with no limbs, because I love horses and I've been riding since I was a little girl. And there's nothing more elegant than sitting on a horse when you and the horse are having a good communication. It's so beautiful to watch somebody really ride a horse who knows how to communicate with the horse, and the horse knows how to communicate with them. So that's how we want to be with our mind. So the method here is very simple. It's very simple. And there's 3 components to it. The first, let's talk about our body briefly. So hopefully you're sitting on a chair with your feet on the ground, or you could be sitting cross-legged, and that's fine. And when we can't get into great detail, but the basic idea is to allow your body to be very natural, but with some energetic integrity, not sloppy or floppy, but, upright and ready to go, but not stiff. And I want to suggest that you put your hands on your knees, because we're going to do some breaths. And I want to encourage you to count your breath by gently, just every time you do an inhale and an exhale, you just gently push one of your fingers into your knee it kind of helps keep you focused. And we also want to count our breaths, so that will help. And then with the breathing, when I say to breathe, what does that mean? Because there's so many aspects to breathing. So your lungs are filling up. Sometimes, in your belly, the air is coming in and exhale, and inhale and exhale. So here I want you to focus in the beginning on something very subtle. And that is the subtle sensation of the air kind of touching lightly your nose and your mouth as it passes in and out. So it's very focused. So we're going to begin with that. And we're going to do 8 breaths with that. And then we'll do 8 more breaths, and I'm going to expand the focus. And then we're going to do 8 more breaths, and I can expand the focus even more. So that's 24 total, but we'll take a little break in between, because we should be very gentle and do this very gradually. And I always say you should leave the meditation wishing you could do more. So we're not going to do too many, but we're going to do enough to make a big difference with our mind, and we can enjoy it. So when you're doing these breaths, if your mind wanders, I always say joyfully bring back your awareness to your breath. Just this simple, whatever I ask you to focus on, just bring it back, your awareness back to what you're doing, to the task at hand, and don't be hard on yourself, because actually you recognize that your mind was wandering. Isn't it amazing that you can recognize, not get lost, and bring it back? That's all. So I'm just going to guide you, and you can close your eyes, and all we're going to do is focus on something very natural, which is our breath. So I'm going to ring the bell, and again, I'm going to just give you the instruction one more time, and I just want you to count to 8. Do 8 cycles of breathing. That means one breath is an inhale and an exhale, focusing first on the sensations around your nose and your mouth. Okay? And I just want to say, if it was hard for you to even focus on one breath, that's absolutely okay. This is something that the more you do it, it becomes easier and easier, and it becomes more and more pleasant, and it makes your mind brighter and more elegant and more organized. So now I want to give you the next instruction. And that is, this time, we're not just going to focus, around our nose and mouth. When we breathe in, it's almost as if we're going to breathe through our whole body and breathe through our whole mind, as if you opened a door and the breeze came in through the door or the window. Just allow the breath just to fill up your entire body and your entire mind, all your thoughts. Just let it be open and spacious. And of course, when we do breathe, our whole body is involved, and you can feel it when you do this meditation. So allow yourself to get a little bigger. You might even have the idea in your mind that you're kind of opening your heart, also opening your mind, just opening your whole body to the breath. So let's do 8 of those. Okay, so now for the last cycle. In the last cycle, I'd like you, when you breathe, to include the whole room that you're sitting in. Maybe you can include even bigger. Maybe you can expand even more and include your whole town or your whole city, or you can include the whole country of Mexico. Maybe you can include the world. See how far you can stretch it. So here we might have some visualization in our meditation. You can visualize or imagine including the whole world with your breath. And what I like about this meditation is that it makes us feel connected, to the world around us. So we want to include them in the sanity of what we're doing. So let's do 8 breaths, including just reach out as far as you can and breathe through whatever you visualize. So now I hope that your mind, when I say mind, I don't just mean in your head. It could mean your heart too, your whole being is more relaxed, is more focused, is also brighter. And so I just want to continue on our conversation about uncertainty, because I've been having a lot of thoughts about uncertainty myself during all of this. And I've noticed when I do turn on the news sometimes, we hear a lot of statistics. People say a lot of things about the world or the economy that can sound very, very big, but kind of also abstract. They're ideas, and they can evoke a lot of fear or a lot of uncertainty in our lives. And I started to notice that when we get caught in an idea, we stop noticing the world we're living in and the relationships around us in the way we are in relationship to our life. So I wanted to just share a little story. I just had an experience a few weeks ago where, I woke up in the morning and I opened my calendar and it told me what I had to do. I had written down that I had to shop and I had to bring some groceries to my mother. I have an elderly mother who I'm taking care of. And I had all these tasks to do, and I had some work to do on my computer. And I actually did all those things. So it seemed like my day was not full of uncertainty, that it was actually very prescribed and it happened as I thought it would. But when I reflected back on my day, I started to think moment by moment how my life was. And I realized it was filled with surprises, things that I didn't expect. So I woke up in the morning and I looked out my window, and I live up in the mountains, and there was this beautiful springtime light. And then I walked outside and a rabbit ran across my porch and kind of startled me. And then I went to the store, and when I was going to the store, a rock hit my windshield of my car and completely cracked the glass. I received letters from people who I didn't expect to receive letters from. Then when I was driving back to my house, I turned on the news and I heard some disturbing statistics on the radio that made me, disturb my mind a little bit for a while. And then, I went to my mother's house and I walked into her house and I knew I was going to go there, but my mother and my brother were sitting there and the sun had just set and Venus was in the sky, that bright planet. And the moon, there was a crescent moon in the sky, and the sky was this deep purple. And my brother and my mother were just sitting there very peacefully, very quietly looking out at the sky. And just these simple things that continue to happen all day long. It's very healthy to pay attention to who we are in relationship. So what that does is it moves us out of these abstract ideas like fear into the nature of relationship. And we're always in relationship and things are always happening. So our life is full of surprise and full of uncertainty, but being full of uncertainty doesn't have to be a negative thing. It's beautiful that we don't know what's going to happen next. And how will we rise to that? That's the question. So that again is why these meditations are so wonderful. We first calm our mind, we find some health and sanity in the mind, we're able to relax and find some elegance. I like the word elegance because often, I bet if I were watching you meditate, I can't see you unfortunately, but I imagine you all look very beautiful and elegant while you're sitting and watching your breath because it organizes the mind. So I want to just say that sometimes when we make plans or we hear things on the radio and we have these kind of big ideas about how things are, these ideas are like maps. But when we start to look at our life more carefully with appreciation and with awareness, it's like we're walking the territory. So the map is not the territory. The territory is really how we walk through our life. So let's bring this idea to a meditation because we still have a little bit more time to do a really a meditation that I like very much. I kind of call it the map is not the territory meditation. And that is that we can look at our experience in meditation when we're sitting still. We can look at our sensations in our body. We can look at our thoughts or our perceptions or any of that, and we can see that it's not one thing, but there's so much going on. So basically, I want to invite you to walk the territory of your experience in meditation. So I'm just going to instruct you. You don't have to worry about anything. I'll just give you instruction, and as you sit, you can close your eyes for this one. It might be nice. And I'll just tell you what to do, and you just pay attention. I'll guide your awareness, which is a very amazing thing. Somebody says something and you can follow what they're saying and move your awareness around your experience. That's what we're going to do now. So I'm going to ring the bell, and again, just sit in a very comfortable, relaxed way, with integrity, you know, energetic integrity. And all you have to do is follow what I say. And I hope you enjoy this. I'm going to enjoy it too. I'll do it with you. So let's begin by bringing our awareness to the top of our head. So again, I just think that's so amazing that I can say we have an agreement where the top of the head is, and we're going to bring our awareness there. You might have a visual image of that in your mind's eye, even though your eyes are closed. And when you bring your awareness to the top of your head, you might experience some sensation because your awareness is there. You might feel some tingling, or you might feel almost like the air, the temperature of the air on the top of your head. When you do this a lot, you begin to notice you become more sensitive toward the sensations, and it's quite interesting and alive. It's like that area comes alive with sensation wherever you put your awareness. So put your awareness there, and let's move our awareness down. We can move our awareness down the back of our head, and we can move the awareness down the front of our face and our eyes and our nose and our mouth. Most of our sense organs are in our head. And just notice where you put your awareness, there'll be some sensation. You can move your awareness down your neck and your arms and the trunk of your body, wherever you want to. Just move it around and see how the sensation comes alive where you put your awareness. Sometimes you might feel something call out at you. For example, you might feel an itch on the back of your head, or kind of a dull pain in your knee or your shoulder or wherever. So put your awareness there. And then notice if you can see. Of course, we can't really see sensation, but we can feel it, and we can have a sense of, does it have a boundary? Or is it something is it a singular thing, or are there many little things moving around? Is it static? Is it permanent? Or is it moving and kind of elusive, like you can't quite capture, you can't catch it, but you're still experiencing it very clearly. You're very aware of it. Really check and see. Sometimes right now I have an itch on my head and I see. It seems that I couldn't capture it exactly. It's moving, it's changing, it's amorphous, you know, and yet you can't say it's not there. You can feel this sensation. So it's vividly experienced, and yet you can't exactly say it's a singular, permanent thing that has a boundary. You can just shift your awareness down the different parts of your body and to your feet. Maybe your feet are falling asleep. Just see if you can just look at the nature of the sensation is really what we're doing. So we might think, oh, you know, I have an itch, or it's asleep. But where is this thing that's asleep? It's an idea, it's a map. But when you look at the map, what's the territory like? It's much more lively than the map. The map is just one-dimensional, but the territory of a place is always teeming with life. So now let's bring our awareness, if we can, to see if we can find a thought, and see if you can find the territory of the thought. So you might think, you know, I'm meditating. But when we look at the kind of nature of the thought, we find that an idea has many moments. Our notion of meditation could be changing. When our eyes are closed too, we might have different colors or images that come with the thought. So there's a thought that seems singular and unchanging, but in fact, when you look at its nature, you find so much life in there. This is really nice to do when you're having a thought that's very disturbing or uncomfortable sometimes, because it seems to be so true and real. And when you look at it, you see, wow, actually, there could even be some pleasant moments within the realm of that thought, in the territory of that thought. And we have so many ideas of good and bad and what I want and what I don't want. When we sit in meditation, many things arise. And if we could just look at what is the nature of that thing that's making me feel so uncomfortable, we don't really see a singular permanent thing. There's so much life there and it's changing all the time. And if some uncomfortable feelings come up, that's okay too. You know, this is for, it doesn't matter pleasant, unpleasant. We're not judging our thoughts. We're not judging our experience. Things arise, they move around, then they dissolve. And maybe you'll see that they're not what you thought they were in the first place. Really, we're just poking around to understand what experience is. So now let's bring our mind back to our breath again. And let's do 8 more, just any kind of breath you want to do. So I hope that was helpful for you. This is something really that you get better at as you do it. You become more aware, and sometimes little things, little challenges arise, and you work with them, and it's kind of a learning process. I mean, I know I'm still learning from my meditation, and always so astounded at how much it helps me. But like anything, you know, it takes some training, but it's also can be incredibly enjoyable. I wanted to end saying this, that I actually think if I were to define what meditation is, I would say it's about learning to enjoy your mind. And when I say that, I don't mean that you only have enjoyable thoughts and sensations, but it means that if you stay curious and open to what arises, you have some sort of appreciation for all of your experience. Because in fact, you know, even things that are difficult for us, like I was saying earlier, you know, there's opportunity in everything. And when we're able to even look into the things that make us uncomfortable or scare us a little bit, we find a lot of freedom. It's kind of like when we were little and we were scared there was something under the bed, and then our mother came in and said, there's nothing down there. You know, there's this sense that we start to see things differently. And that gives us agency, and it makes us less fearful. And it helps us accommodate or include more of our experience instead of kind of shutting down around experience and wishing it would go away. Because life is full of experiences that is challenging. So what do we do with this? How do we make ourselves big enough for our life in a way that the life doesn't seem too scary for us, or even too, sometimes I think life is too beautiful for us. Like when we go to a beautiful place, we could hardly bear not to take out our camera and take a photo to try to capture it. So, how can we just relax around our experience and appreciate it, and also see that it arises, it expresses itself, and it dissolves. And if we can be with that in a way that is very relaxed and healthy and sane, then we can enjoy our mind much more. So this is a very short introduction to meditation, but I hope that this helps either enhance the meditation you're already doing or get you started. It's very simple. Even with children, they like to watch their breath. So you can also teach this to your children. It could only be helpful for them. And so I want to wish you all so very well. I'm very happy to make this connection with you. It's wonderful to connect with people of Mexico, and hope to meet you or see you again. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. I've been doing everything and I feel like I'm glowing.
You are. Well, you're very beautiful. So you were glowing before, but you look even more glowing now.
Yeah, it's a feeling of like expansion and openness, and like even things look like brighter somehow.
Good. Meditation should do that, right?
Yeah, sometimes you just sit there like, wow.
I know, there's that too. Yeah.
So we would like to know, like, we had like an introduction to meditation right now with you.
Yeah.
How can we continue training in that?
Yeah. Well, my suggestion would be to start very slow. Even if you do one breath, it's wonderful if you're really present while you do it. And then I always say, try to increase it just a little bit. But I love the idea that you stop meditating while you're still enjoying it. Don't wait till you get spaced out and your mind is discursive. Just stop while you still love it.
So we could do like every morning or any time in the day, like a few breathings, like following your instructions.
I think so. I would recommend that. And also, if you're at work, maybe you say you work in an office, anybody could take just a moment out to take 5 deep breaths, 5 deep breaths. That's not a problem.
And like, for example, if we are having fear or anxiety, can we use this technique in the middle of that, or?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I do. I love to do my breathing. So I'd start with the breathing, but then I do that other practice too, because when you're afraid, we have a tendency to make everything a map. We freeze it. We freeze our idea, and we think that life is limited to this idea, but it's not. There's beauty everywhere. There's workability in every situation. Like I was saying earlier, some of the most greatest acts of courage and heroism and a surprise, and all the beautiful things have come from some very difficult situations. But when you're frozen, you can't access your own intelligence, your own creativity. You can't see the world around you accurately. It's an inaccurate perception. So when you begin to see, oh wow, these feelings that I'm having, just my own feelings, they're not what's really out there. This is how you're seeing the world that you're encountering. So how can you change your relationship with how you're seeing the world and make it healthy, even though something difficult is happening? And so you start to look very deeply at your own frozenness and the qualities, and you see, oh, my thoughts actually are not solid. They're not singular. It's all moving. There's a lot of sensations. Those are also moving,
And that's what opens this space, because we usually like to think that what we think or we feel is right, and that's the truth.
Right, exactly.
Are we going to agree on that, or are we going to
Yeah, and you know, there's this bumper sticker I saw that says, "Don't believe everything you think." Because it's not that thoughts are bad, but if you think that thoughts are true, like if you think that things exist only as how you think about them, that's a problem, because actually we all see things differently. That's why there's so much conflict. Everybody thinks they're right, but in fact, that's not helpful. So to have some openness and curiosity helps remedy that problem.
Definitely openness and curiosity feels much better than being frozen, as you call it.
Absolutely. Yeah. We all know that, right? We all know that ourselves if we really think about it.
And it's some people here, well, that they don't speak English. That's what this is being subtitled. So they did the meditation with their eyes open, looking at the subtitles, and we put some images so it would look like spacious. Is
good.
That, does that change us anything?
Sorry, say that last piece again.
Is that okay to do that with the eyes open?
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, whatever, you know, we can be creative. We don't have to be rigid about anything.
Love that.
No rigid.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. Where can people continue like hearing more teachings from you, or see you in person or online? How can they contact you?
Yeah, I have a website. It's elizabethmattisnamgyel.com, my name. And I also have a podcast that I just released. Of course, it's not in Spanish. I'm sorry. I'm learning Spanish, but I'm not there yet to teach in Spanish. But and that's a free podcast you can get on Apple. You can get it on my website, or anywhere you get your podcasts, you can get that. And I have a lot of guided meditations. I have a lot of information on my website. Just
perfect. We'll put your link is under this talk.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Go there and like follow through and continue.
Wonderful. Oh, and the podcast is called Open Question. So it's kind of what we're talking about. So I hope that's helpful.
Thank you so much, and we really aspire to continue learning from you and to invite you one day to Mexico, or to do something in person.
Yeah, I would love to do that too. I haven't been to Mexico in a long time, and I really would love to come. It sounds like a really good thing. I'd love to
go to the beach.
Yeah, well, maybe when we'll meet again soon, I'm sure.
Thank you so much for your time and everything, Elizabeth.
Thank you, Regina. I hope it all goes well. I'm sure it will.